Let's look at this, and this is the new one, Berserker. So it looks like Berserker's got a pretty interesting change. Now they got a buff, I believe, over here for crime hazard. Because it no longer increases mana consumption by 40%. I don't know if Berserkers are having much problems with mana in tier 4, but I mean that is a buff, I guess. You know, it is a buff. Mountain Crash is now a damage skill, I guess. So your counter now, if you use Mountain Crash as your counter, it is now a damage skill. And then now it looks like you get 2 stacks of it. I wonder if that changes our rotations at all. I don't play Zerk, so I don't know, but that's definitely a buff. Chainsword, PvE damage increased by 40%. That's kind of crazy. Chainsword is a counter, right? So it looks like they buffed their counter skills. And then basically what happened was, so all these, so this one and also Red Dust, right? We'll get to Red Dust in a second, but Red Dust and Chainsword had crit chance tripods, and they got moved to their engraving. Yeah, it means you don't have to use your counters in your rotation, which is really nice. You can just always have that up. Or you can use it as a damage skill, right? If you really wanted to. Especially with this 197% buff to that, that sounds like a pretty big buff. Maelstrom, critical hit tripod change. So basically all the stuff that was crit chance giving is now into the engraving. Because right here it says crit strike chance increased by 60%, right? So they got an extra 30% crit from this. So all of this crit got moved into the engraving, which is nice. But sadly, you would think that it would move you out of Red Dust jail, but it doesn't, because Red Dust still gives you attack power percentage buff. So you still want to do that for the attack power percent. And they didn't increase like the duration either. So it's still kind of ass. But it's just less punishing if you don't hit your skills within the Red Dust window, because all you're missing out is on the damage and you're not missing out on crit anymore. Change the movement skills when used while casting Bloody Rush. So I guess movement skills is interesting, right? Because movement skill, I don't think you guys run shoulder charge, right? Do you guys run shoulder charge? Because does that mean you could use shoulder charge in the middle of Bloody Rush and Dark Rush? I guess now you can spacebar out of it, right? Because was it before you couldn't spacebar out of it? Hellblade might count? Interesting. But this is interesting. I think Zerk's got a nice quality of life that they've been asking for a while, but I still think that if they could just remove Red Dust Jail, that would be really, really nice. Like, I think like they're still stuck in Red Dust Jail, which kind of sucks, but at least it's not as punishing if you miss it, right? So it's a good change, but I think it still could be a little bit more. And then so they made it so you get the 60% here, so the extra 30% here. You also get the extra 30% here from Mayhem as well. So both of them got the extra 30% crit chance, which is nice. Arc passive. So this is the engraving, and this is the arc passive. Okay. So it's because this is tier 3 basically, right? This is tier 3, and then this is tier 4. And then they added a 30% to the tier 4. Yeah, you lost overall 2% crit, but I think you'd rather have the consistency of the crit rate rather than the extra 2%. Like 2% is not like a ton either, right? So the overall just having it all the time is really nice. And then there's also when entering state of frenzy, Madness movement is reset, changed to rush, where you quickly dash, lowering your body, reducing the distance moved by 1 meter, but reducing cooldown by 2 seconds. Now you're gonna. So this was the surge passive thing for like the space bar. So they buffed it so your spacebar is better, and now you just get a flat damage increase instead of having to do this like weird spacebar buff stack, which is another quality of life. So overall, I think this is a really nice change too, right? This is just a nice flat damage buff. I don't know if people are using this tripod, but if they were, this is just a very nice change. Not having to do this weird like damage stacking thing, like kind of like Pistolier does. Gunlancer PvP stuff got changed, more PvP stuff. Spear dash, the distance at which you can charge while stabbing with the spear casting has been reduced by half. So it's just like the close distance, right? So that's a nice quality of life thing. More PvP stuff. Low Night buffed by 3%. 1, 2, 3%. And then blue got a slight nerf by 3%. And then let's see, increases dash distance of shield dash by 40%, reduces cooldown when dashing allies, grants allies with a dash radius equal a shield equal to 20% of caster's maximum health for 5 seconds, creates a max. So this one now, when creating a massive shield, grants shield equal to 20% of caster's health to party members within a 24-meter radius. So basically, it's just like you don't have to be close to the Gunlancer anymore when you use this skill to get the shield. Okay, so just another quality of life thing. Nice, not bad. Now, Destroyer. When you use a Liberation skill in normal state, you obtain 14% gravity gauge. So it's damage buff during their Z skill. And this just makes it so you can stay in your Z form longer. I see. Okay, so the overall duration was reduced. That's why. The overall duration was reduced, and then they have this weird thing now. When you use your skills, you get more duration. So if you're not using your skills, you're kind of dunzo. And then they did get a buff to the amount of damage that they do. And then this is for their Hyper Awakening skill. Wow. Okay. So first elect, delete the damage of following attacks is up to this. So they give you more crit rate, but less damage. So I'm not a Destroyer player, so I don't know what this truly means. But I was in Benji's stream briefly earlier, and he did mention that this is an potentially an overall buff to their damage, but in the burst window, it's a smaller burst. You do less damage in a burst window. So that's Destroyer. Slayer. So it looks like this was a change that they made a Berserker and also Slayer. When you're using Z, you can spacebar out of it and use movement skills. So that's cool. And I think Slayer does use Shoulder Charge, right? Era 1.5, yeah, but 1.0 doesn't. Got it. Arc passive. Execution of passive didn't follow. So 3% damage buff, right? For your Z skill for Punisher. Fury passive follow. Critical damage during Rampage increases by this much. When Rampage ends, the duration of exhaust is reduced by the number of stacks of fatigue. So this is Predator. So another 3% buff for Predator. And then when entering the Rampage state, the damage range given to enemies increase 8% or 8 meters. Fear is also applied. When attacking enemies with fear effect, damage increases by this much. Grants the party boost damage boost effect. And okay, so basically it just gives the whatchamacallit, their synergy. It applies synergy and then nothing else has changed. So it basically makes it so when you enter Z mode, it applies synergy, which is a QOL, which is nice. Let's see here. During damage to enemies increases by 4, blah, blah, when using Bloodlust and Frenzy state. Okay, so this is more Punisher stuff, I'm pretty sure. So basically they made it so Bloodlust is faster. And then so you don't have to use Bloodlust to enter this enhanced state, I guess, right? When entering the Berserk state, the Berserk enhancement is active. Yeah, okay. So this is actually pretty nice. So basically it makes it so you don't have to use Bloodlust to enter this enhanced Frenzy state to get this additional buff. So you just always have this buff as long as you have your Z. It's not bad. And then Deepening Rage. You return to normal state by pressing X while in Frenzy. Mana recovery while absorbing blood. While in Frenzy state, you will enter Frenzy Enhanced state. The Frenzy Enhanced state increases damage by this much per stack, up to 10 stacks. So basically, it lets you get out of your Z skill or your Z form on Predator Slayer. Were you not able to do that before? You cannot. Okay, yeah. So this is pretty nice. This is PTR patch. No, this is KR. This is KR. So this is a pretty nice change, actually. So you don't get as screwed by like things like, you know, bosses phasing and things like that. You don't have to be like, oh my god, please come back, come back, come back. You can like cancel it early and then like, you know, yeah. So this is a pretty good change to Predator. It kind of alleviates some of their annoyances with like, you know, their frenzy, like their Z, their identity kind of like popping off, like turning off at like bad times. It's a good change. It's a good change. I like it. I think overall, Slayers are pretty happy. They got a pretty decent like they got an okay damage buff. They got some nice quality of life. Like they got damage and quality of life. Like that is like a W patch in my opinion. Is it enough? I don't know. I don't play Slayer. I don't play in an arc passive, but I think Slayers are overall at least somewhat happy with what they got, if anything. Battle Master. So this is Battle Master is Wardancer. So just PvP stuff, nothing real changed. Wardancers are still the same as before. So I guess, you know, if they were busted, it's a win because they didn't get nerfed. But yeah, Wardancers are about the same. Okay, Infighter. So this is Scrapper. The King 2 passive is changed as follows. The movement distance of all movement skills increase by 1 meter, and the damage given to enemies increases by 7%, 10 seconds after using movement skill. And then this is just that there's no, you don't have to keep uptime anymore. But the thing is, it got nerfed by 2%. Is a buff, as we discussed in the Raptor Discord. Okay, that's good. So basically, it means that you're basically always upkeeping this buff, so you don't have to ever drop the buff because you accidentally, like, you had to save a spacebar or something like that. So overall, a buff, which is good. So this is Soulfist. When you're so this is EO, right? When your internal energy value is below 30%, damage given to enemies increases by this much. So it's just a 3% nerf to Soulfist, EO Soulfist right here. And then this one right here, let's see, you can activate this up to 2 stages, but the stage 1 is applied by default. Damage given to enemies. I don't know if Soul Eaters were running this arc passive, to be honest. They nerfed the way your hype gets refunded. You have to throw everything quickly in order to maximize the hype refund. Well, there's more leeway. Got it. So basically, it means that just like quality of life got reduced for like Soulfist. You just have to like fit more stuff into a small window for EO Soulfist. The effect of this, so this is robust. Spec EO nerf? I think so. Because I was in Benji's stream earlier and he was saying that he still thinks Spec EO is probably still stronger. But I think, you know, given the way that he said it, it probably means that it was a nerf. I mean, there was a nerf to EO in general, right? There was a nerf to EO in general. And I think they buffed robust. So when using Awakening, the attack preparation effect increases your attack power by 55.6 or 6%. 6 seconds. So they basically gave Soulfist, EO Soulfist, another ready attack when they press their Awakening. So they get double ready attack, which is, I mean, it definitely buffs the amount of damage that their Spirit Bomb's gonna do. Unless they don't use Spirit Bomb still, I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna be enticing them to use Spirit Bomb again, or if the other one is still gonna be better for them. We'll see. Like, this 6 seconds really is just like, honestly, what they should have, I don't know why they're doing this like whole 6 seconds thing. They should just be like, hey, your Hyper Awakening does more damage when you do this. I don't understand why they're giving this like attack power buff, because you're in the air for like probably that entire time anyways, and by the time you get down, maybe you get one skill out. I don't know. And then Glaivier also just got a quality of life update from what I can tell. So basically, their Red Dragon's ultimate sword, I think this is their T skill. And now instead of hitting 4 times, just hit once, which is a quality of life. And then now their skill that they use to charge their next attack that they had can be used while casting other skills, which is good. Because before you couldn't use it while casting other skills, so now you can at least use it while you're casting other skills, which is, you know, a nice change. but I think Glaivier probably wanted a little bit more. So good change, but still Glaivier needs more. And then my boy Striker, another 4%, 4.5% damage buff for Deathblow. So Strikers eating good, guys. Strikers are eating good. We're getting a big damage buff. We've been getting buff for the past couple patches. I think it doesn't help Striker. Well, okay. Striker is still going to be just about an average class, okay? They're going to be average to above average is what I say. They're still not a top tier class from what I can tell. But, you know, hey, anything helps. Anything helps. You know what I mean? I think Strikers, there's still some of the struggles of like charge skills and things like that. But, you know, having supercharge definitely helps it out a lot. So we're slowly but surely getting more friendly to play, and then the damage itself is also increasing. And, you know, just overall, Deathblow is a fun build. People have always just keep saying, right? People always emphasize that Deathblow is a very fun build. So it's a fun build, and it's getting stronger. So it's all positive. All positives. And then Breaker. Looks like it's just PvP changes. Flashlight when we find the perfect strike tripod. The skill cancel timing as we change to be slower. Deadeye got a really interesting change, guys. They got a lot. So basically, deals double damage to enemies within 4.5 meters in front. So it made their close shot tripod a lot more, I guess, manageable. It's a lot more like, because like before you had to be like really just like right up in the ass to be able to do it. And then right now you don't have to be that close, which is great. And that's kind of like the theme of everything that they've gotten. Like close range tripod, just a lot better. A lot better to use. And then this full range tripod is like, I don't know if people use this. All attack apply close range damage and damage increase enemies like this. And then this is double damage is applied to all attack ranges. So basically gives a close range tripod at all ranges. So I don't know if people use that tripod. If they do, then that means you basically don't have to worry about close range anymore. No one uses it. Yeah. But either way, changing this to the distance, like a larger distance, is so great. And then Judgment Day now deals up to 2x damage for 4.5. Okay. Santa Choke. I have no clue what this is. This is just a tripod, right? So maximum range increased by 1%. Okay. Firing angle is wider of Judgment Day. I don't know if anybody even used this tripod, to be honest. Change close range tripod to enemies within 4.5 meters in the front. Deals up to 75% damage, so more damage compared to before, which is nice. And then double damage is applied to all attack ranges. This is all Judgment Day. This is all Judgment Day, by the way. So this is all just stuff talking about like distance of enemies and damage and things like that. Here's a new video for EW buffs. All right, let's take a look at it. Oh, wow. So was that their dash? Oh, so the dash is after they use the skill? Huh. I thought it was before they used the skill. I thought it was before they use the shotgun skill, so it's afterwards. So that just basically makes their like mobility like crazy. Do they have to dash though? Or is it like an option to dash? It's optional? Yo, that's kind of crazy. And it's push immune too. This is kind of insane. I'm not gonna lie. Holy crap. Yeah, no, this is actually insane. Deadeyes are eating well for sure. And look at that distance that they could attack the boss from and still have the full effect of like their close range tripod. Deadeyes are basically just got a lot everything they asked for and more, from what I can tell. Let's see. Reload simultaneously while shooting damage given. So I think this reloading thing, right, has to do with maybe it has to do with the arc passive stuff. I don't know. I don't know what it means by reloading. Shotgun rapid fire. Casting speed has been increased. Distance travel when using the skill has been reduced by 1 meter, which is very nice. Fire shotgun 3 times roll, dealing end damage, and it's all like, you know, the close range stuff again, close range stuff again, close range stuff again, close range stuff again. So there's a lot of really nice quality of life stuff to Deadeye. And then now when switching stances, you gain tactical bullet, which is consumed when using a skill. Tactical bullet consumed when using a skill, and the damage given to enemies by that skill is increased by 9%. So when you switch stances, you now get this tactical bullet buff. So Deadeye is going to be kind of high APM from what I can tell, because you're going to want to be switching stances pretty often now, in between skills from what I can tell. And then Hitman passive when using shotgun rifle skills, reinforces blah blah blah. When switching stances, gain 2/3 tactical bullets buff. So this makes it so you don't have to, like, you can get multiple tactical bullets when you swap. Every shotgun skill is 80% faster. Damn, that is insane. When casting a shotgun skill, you move 4 meters in the direction. So this was the optional dash that they got. And then critical hit chance increased just in general, and crit damage in general increased. And then this increases the number of shotgun skills that you have. Like, Deadeye just got an uber buff, guys. They got, like, a legitimately uber buff. Basically, they got everything they asked for. They got close range tripod, a lot better. Their shotguns are no longer super animation lock because everything's faster. They get a dash after their shotgun skill, so more mobility. Like, literally, Deadeye's just got everything they've been asking for the longest time. And the crazy thing is, right, I don't think Deadeye's ever had bad damage. I think Deadeye's were always very strong damage-wise. So I wouldn't be surprised if Deadeye becomes an S tier class after this. Okay, so Blaster. So this is Artillerist. They didn't get anything really for this. This is just PvP stuff. And then they gave buffs to firepower. So 1% buff for firepower here. And then only 1%. That's kind of... Really? Really? You couldn't give more than that, Smilegate? And then switching to bombard mode becomes impossible, and they get another 1% here. And then damage to enemies from this increased by an additional 0.2, like additional 20%. Okay, 20%, that's good. 20% is good. So firepower got a buff, which is very nice. Scouter, this is PvP stuff. Cooldown increased by 6% seconds, but changed to an attack that gathers enemies around, dealing equivalent damage. So it looks like the skill command orbital bombardment has removed a new collaborative skill. Neo Fire has been added. Command active pulse. So this is a tripod for it, I guess, right? So this is a new T skill. Hello. Okay. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I don't know how that was compared to the old T skill, but that seems pretty easy to use, which is nice. It looks insane. Okay, that's good. And then let's see here. So increases battery. So this one no longer increases battery consumption of your sync skills, and your joint skills, which is nice. And then drone booster. Let's see. Recovering the drone via X key or using collaboration skill, the cooldown of drone skills reduced. Reload buff changed to tactical reload. Can be stacked with 8 times. Damage given to enemies increased. Movement speed increased. Attack speed and battery recovery increase. I think AT had like issues with battery recovery, right? So this is going to be pretty nice. But it sounds like it might be a little bit more like micromanagey. But I think like the tactical reload buff, AT already has that, right? So I don't think it should be that much different from what they're already doing. Increases the damage of sync skills. All core energy is consumed. Cancel pressing Z. Enters self-destruct, implodes. So basically now you don't have to press the Z skill to cancel your robot to have it come out and explode, I guess, right? And it doesn't fight with you anymore. It just comes out and explodes. So it doesn't fight alongside of you anymore. Yeah, they got rid of the dumb AI. And then this is T skill stuff. Okay, so this was a T skill. This was the T skill. Okay, so that's the T skill. So overall, just a nice change to AT. And then you don't have to do this thing for like the Evo anymore. And then a bunch of AT like skill changes. It looks like just overall a buff. Gunslinger, they got a slight, so they got some quality of life on their shotgun skill and their target down, and they got a buff for their enlightenment arc passive to increase PV damage by 20%. I don't know what this was before. Oh, it's for TTH. Oh, was this their Z skill or whatever? The T skill or the X skill or the Z skill? I see. Okay, so this is the buff for the X skill. 20%, which, I mean, I don't know if that's enough to make people play the class. Like, let's be real, right? TTH is just a lame-ass fucking concept. Like, TTH is just a lame concept. It's like, oh, you don't get your gun. You don't get your shotgun. That's all it is. So, nobody's going to play it still, unfortunately. And I don't think it makes it any stronger. Let's be real. Like, by any significant margin. Arcana got nerfed by 3%. Summoner for their ruin skills. So it's not an actual 3%. It's probably more like 1 to 2%. But yeah, they got nerfed. It's probably like 2%ish. And then Summoner, CO Summoner got buffed. Look at that. Igna. Which one was Igna? Is that the T skill? I think Igna is the T skill, right? Increased by 25% damage. And then it now has it attacks enemies by breathing powerful flame breath, dealing a total of this. So basically their attack animation changed from what I can tell, I guess, right? Which is probably a positive change, I would assume. And then Kelsion is now increased by 9% damage, which is also nice. And then Marine got a 6% buff for its damage. And then the duration of the T skill gets increased by an extra 2 seconds. Let's see. When you summon Igna, the skill generated flame breath command skill, when you use the skill, Igna uses a powerful flame breath skill toward the enemy, dealing damage equivalent. Okay. So a slight nerf to the actual like the pet skill, but a buff to its auto attacking abilities and overall damage. So I think overall it's just a buff because this got nerfed, but the thing is it also gets buffed by this, right? So it's still an overall buff, and like overall like it does more damage like while normal attacking. So yeah. And then Igna's breath. Their breath skill now flies upwards to attack enemies with a powerful breath flame, dealing a total of this amount of damage with fire zone, so it creates a dot on the ground. So pretty nice change for CO Summoner. I don't know how much this changes and buffs them, but you know, it seems pretty decent. CO Summoner, unfortunately, I don't think it really changes it on the tier list that much. Sadly. It might go up like one or two slots within its tier, but I don't think it changes much because they're only changing like a part of their kit. Like they would need like an overall damage buff to everything to really like actually make the class stronger, in my opinion. And also some quality of life too. There's some really bad quality of life with CO Summoner. Bard, some just quality of life with its T skill for DPS. And then Sork. So a Reflux Sork buff. So basically, Reflux Sork had this thing where you had to keep using Blink to upkeep a damage buff that would stack up to a certain number of times for 30 seconds. Now this stack increases to 3.8% per stack, and it can be stacked up to 2 times. So, and this was before up to 3 times. So 9% before, and now it is a little bit under 8%, which is a damage nerf. But I think this change to the mana consumption is probably really big. I never played Reflux Sork. I mean, I don't know anybody who played Reflux Sork in Arc Passive, and I did play it. So what I would assume is that they didn't get nerfed. They got a good change where they probably had mana problems before because of using their Blink over and over again. And now they don't have the mana problems, so they're free to spam their skills. Sork Discord says basically nobody used this. Okay. Yeah, so basically, so people didn't use this before, and now I guess maybe people can use it now because the mana cost isn't like ridiculous. Blade got a overall buff, so Surge Blade did, because PvP got changed, right? Some PvP stuff got changed, and then this is more PvP stuff, and then this for Surge Blade. Surge Blade got a thing where they have a 3% damage buff per stack for 60 seconds. That can be stacked up to 2 times. So basically, when you were hitting your Z skill, you got a damage buff that can be stacked up to 2 times. And now instead of doing 21%, it's up to 24%. So overall buff for Surge. So Demonic got changed. Wild / backstep distance has been reduced. Casting time and finishing attack motion is reduced. So that mobility skill that made you like spin in a circle, I think, right? Now it's no longer as clunky, which is nice. And then the arc passive for PS got changed to where the number of hits it does is reduced by 4 hits, but also the boomerang itself damage does more damage. So I think it's just compressing their damage into a smaller window, which is really nice. Reaper Shadow Knife, instead of invading backwards, the skill will now be used in place. Okay, so quality of life. Finish step. Time to perform additional sword after down or strike has been shortened, so more quality of life. And then it looks like they also got Lunar got quality of life as well. So where their buff from their arc passive is now 60 seconds before it disappears, and then once you fully stack it, then it lasts 30 seconds at 15 seconds. So quality of life. And then let's see. When using a surprise skill in a state of chaos, the duration of the chaos effect is reduced by 2 seconds instead of 3 seconds, so more quality of life, which is nice. And then Shadow Knife's critical hit rate is increased by 20% instead of 25%, but does more damage. So just more damage. Got it. I guess they weren't having issues with crit, and they're going to get more damage. And then Soul Eater, more PvP stuff. And then it looks like Knight's Edge got a change. So when in Soul Seal state, you can use Soul Decapitation by pressing Z, and the damage of Soul Decapitation increases by this much. When you use Soul Decapitation, the Soul Seal state ends. So this is, from what I can tell, an actually pretty good buff. Because if you think about it this way, Soul Eater Knight's Edge, your Z form, the Knights that like the Soul Snatch mode, has always been a DPS drop for you. So the fact that you get to leave Soul Snatch mode early after throwing out your burst of skills is actually really strong. Now, the cooldowns have to line up for that, right? I don't know how the cooldowns exactly line up, but I think that with this, it should increase the damage of Soul Eater overall. You still need to be waiting for your ping skills, yes. But I don't know how much time you need to wait. Especially because now that you have new level 10 cooldown gems, right? The pink skills might be coming up earlier. If the level 10 cooldown gems make it so that you can get out of the Z skill, the Z form faster, then that's good, right? So the other thing is that this no longer you don't have to stack it anymore. See, it says right here, when the soul collection effect reaches 9, you can use soul decapitation, right? It just says right here, when in a soul seal state, you can use soul decapitation. So you don't have to stack it at all anymore. And then Weatherman. Clear Day. So another 3% damage buff to Drizzle. Nice. I mean, overall, like, this patch is popping off. I had to say. Nothing really got nerfed that bad. And only classes only really got buffed or got like a lot of like really good QOL stuff. So overall, I think this is a W patch. Big W balance patch.